Warm greetings from the high 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me on this early Friday morning. I'd like to thank the viewers uh, for joining me and listening in. Most of you probably will get this information once you awake. I just got this just a little while ago. It's breaking news out of the Miami, Florida area. Before I start this live, I'd like to say that one of the viewers, Seven Alive, thank you so much, and Miss Tina notified me that my photograph was used on a fake account with Paprika Dean's name. Now, I do not know if this is the Ryan Dean affiliated with Cal City Boys that posted this fake account onto a YouTube channel holder's chat. But I'd like to tell all of you, because most of you know me by now, there is no need of me to ever use my photograph with anyone else's name but Everyday Shenanigans. I do not have an alternate account. The only account I have on YouTube is the Everyday Shenanigans logo, which I'm using currently, and it's the only one in my possession on YouTube and any other social media platform. Now, whoever is using this photograph, because I haven't yet to see it, you need to find you something to do. You need to find you something to engage your time in instead of using my photographs off my community posts to make a fake account. Hello, how are you, Manaya? You need to have something better to do with your time. Don't use my photographs for anything, but you don't have any reason to. And some of you all get down like that, doxing people and stealing photographs and fake accounts or whatever, but I don't have that type of time to indulge in that. So whoever you are, whether you're Paprika Dean or Pookie Ray Ray or some sick troll affiliated with this heifer, whomever, I don't care. Don't put my picture on any name. I will post my own picture to my own Everyday Shenanigans logo if I want to comment on social media. Okay, I want to get this story started because this is a more pressing information and more serious. Hello, Night Owl. Thanks for joining me. This is a more pressing situation out of Florida. For those of you who do not know, a condo building has collapsed in Florida. And I will bring you the said information. If you need verification, USA Today is the first source I'm going to bring you because I'm giving you a minute-by-minute play of any uploaded content pertaining to this building falling down. So if you have any family members in this town, or you think they live in this building, you need to notify them because there were foreign nationals in this building. And right now, there are several people who have not been accounted for. Over 100 have been accounted for. The building seats 130 residents. So there are 130 apartments in this said building. And as I state, last of date of me reading, 102 people have been accounted for that resided in the building. USA Today is the source. Tragedy without precedent. Condo building partially collapses near Miami. At least one dead, 99 unaccounted for. This was uploaded at 12:57 a.m., June 25th. At least one person was killed, and firefighters were extricating dozens of people from partially collapsed condo building near Miami. Mayor Charles Burkett warned that the death toll was likely to rise. The cause of the collapse was not immediately known. Rescue crews were working into the night to scour through a mammoth pile of twisted steel and concrete Thursday while searching for any signs of life after a 12-story beachfront condominium building collapsed, killing at least one person and leaving 99 unaccounted for. Miami-Dade Fire Chief Alan Kaminsky said at 8 p.m. at an 8 p.m. news conference that crews would be working through the night and into Friday. Residents screamed for help as they sought to flee the building earlier in the day, and some were plucked from the building by firefighters using ladders. Surfside Mayor Charles Burkett confirmed that at least one person had died. Hold on one second. My article's going up too fast. Okay. The building is literally pancake, Burkett said. That is heartbreaking because it doesn't mean to me that we are going to be successful as we wanted to be in finding people alive. He said on CNN later in the evening that thunderstorms overnight may complicate things, but that first responders were not giving up the search. Kaminsky said he had hope for survivors. It's difficult in the night, but it's hope, he said. Heads up and we'll keep going. U.S. Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz assured the tight-knit Surfside community that the federal government would help them in any way when they need answers. I will tell you after spending the bulk of the day here that this is a tragedy without precedent in the United States of America, the Democratic Congresswoman said at the 8 p.m. news conference. Devastation that I witnessed today is the likes of which I've never seen in other nations. Republican Senator Marco Rubio also spoke of the devastation and desperation at the site. You never want this to happen anywhere, he said, adding that a phenomenal community response is what we can do for the people in a time like this. This is a dark and tragic day, and we continue to pray for some miracles, but we're inspired by the men and women who are out there right now, he said. After Governor Ron DeSantis signed an emergency declaration for Miami-Dade County, making it easier to send state resources, Wasserman Schultz said the federal government has assured her that it would provide any resources needed for the community. Hours after the collapse, searchers were trying to reach a trapped child whose parents were believed to be dead. In another case, rescuers saved a mother and child, but the woman's leg had to be amputated to remove her from the rubble. Frank Rollison, director of Miami-Dade Emergency Management, told the Miami Herald. And also in this said article of USA Today, you will see firefighters on the scene of this devastation in Surfside, Florida. Video showed fire crews removing a boy from the wreckage and fire personnel hosting the boy over his shoulders. It was not clear whether he was the same person mentioned by Rollison. Teams were trying to enter the building from a parking garage beneath the structure. How many people are still missing? Surfside Mayor Charles Burkett confirmed at least one person died. Miami-Dade County Mayor Daniela Levine Cava said officials were able to account for 102 thus far, but 99 were still unaccounted for. It's unclear whether those 99 people were in the building during the collapse. Crews continue to search the debris for survivors as air conditioning units dangle from gaping holes in the high-rise and a mess of wires, cables, couches, and people's belongings. 10 people were treated at the scene and 2 were brought to the hospital, one of whom died, Burkett said, adding that 15 families walked out of the building on their own. Governor Ron DeSantis visited the site and said engineers already had begun investigating the cause of the collapse, but he added that we won't have the answers immediately. It's a tragic day, DeSantis said. We still have hope to identify additional survivors. I have no hope. Loved ones await news. Survivors flee after condo building partially collapses near Miami. Authorities say they don't know how many people were in the building when it collapsed, nor how many of them were able to flee the disaster. The building is part of the Champlain Tower South, built in 1981, and containing more than 130 apartments. Some are occupied by year-round residents. Others are primarily used in winter. Rescue crews use sonar to detect survivors. Hear banging. Crews donning hard hats and accompanied by search and rescue dogs scavenging through the piles of concrete and cables, searching for any signs of life. They look for gaps in the wreckage and use the garage under the building as a tunnel system to maneuver throughout the building. Ray Jadala, Assistant Fire Chief of Miami-Dade Fire and Rescue, said crews were using sonar equipment to detect any movements in the debris and ensure safety for crews. The equipment detected what Jadala said sounded like banging. We did receive sounds, not necessarily people talking, but sounds, he said, describing it as possible banging under the layers of debris. Jadala said crews were methodically making their way through the area by cutting through the metal and concrete debris and making holes for rescue personnel to check for survivors each time sonar equipment is placed. Some of the debris includes broken water pipes and flooded areas, complicating the rescue mission and potentially worsening the situation for any potential survivors trapped under the rubble with a limited air supply. He said the efforts caused a small fire to start earlier Thursday afternoon. As the record shifted, it was extinguished within 20 minutes. Sister-in-law of Paraguay's president among unaccounted for. Relatives of the First Lady of Paraguay were among the 99 people who are unaccounted for. Leticia Roberti, a spokesperson for the Consul General of Paraguay in Miami, told USA Today. They included the sister of the First Lady, Sofia Lopez Maria Bo, the sister's husband, Luis Pentagil, their 3 children, and their nanny, Lady Luna Villalba. Other Paraguayans were also among those unaccounted for. About 20 Jewish people were also among the unaccounted for, including some with Israeli citizenship. Mayor Elbaz Starinsky, Consul General of Israel in Miami, told USA Today. After the collapse, quiet, then screams for help. Jeff and Penny Pias, 60 and 56, from Fairfield Bay, Arkansas, were vacationing at the Blue Green Vacations Hotel next door. He said the collapse sounded like a huge tornado. I didn't see the building, just the dust covering the sky, he said. We were on the second floor. The windows shook and the alarm went off. Pias and his wife grabbed a few things and ran downstairs. When they arrived at the lobby, the dust had inundated the lobby. Pias said that there were dead silence outside for about 15 seconds. He described a quiet beach. Then the screams started. All of a sudden, people started screaming for help. I could see people on the balconies yelling, "Help me," Pias said. I just wanted the fire trucks to get there. I knew it was their only hope. Family member, I have no hope. A family reunification center was set up nearby. Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levine Cava said chaplains and victim advocates were on site to support the survivors and family members in need of resources. Our social service agencies as well are coming in, she said. They are going to be here to assist in the hours and days ahead. Pablo Rodriguez, 40, is a Miami native whose 64-year-old mother and 88-year-old grandmother lived in the wing that collapsed. He said that he last spoke to his mom around 7 p.m. last night to discuss the family weekend plans. The grandmother and great-grandmother were going to pick up Rodriguez's 6-year-old son and spend the weekend together. Rodriguez said next month would have been his grandmother's 89th birthday. He had plans to surprise her with brunch at a nice restaurant. They lived in the wings that's collapsed, Rodriguez said in tears at the reunification center. I came to the center, but I have no hope. Are people still trapped in the building? Firefighters picked through the rubble pile almost half as high as the part of the building still standing, extricating survivors and carrying them from the wreckage. Surfside Town Manager Andy Hyatt said the search and rescue effort could take a week. Rai Jadala, Assistant Fire Chief for Operations for Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, said firefighters were shoring up the building and tunneling in the devastation to search for survivors. About 55 of the 130-plus condos collapsed, he said. Frank Rollison, director of Miami-Dade Emergency Management, told the Miami Herald that emergency workers believe they have cleared all survivors from inside the tower. He said more than 70 units were destroyed or damaged. Everyone who is alive is out of the building, he said. How many people have died? Burkett said at least one person was dead and at least other 10 were injured. Search efforts in the collapsed section of the building were continuing, but the way the building fell means those efforts may not be successful in recovering many people, Burkett said. The problem is the building has literally pancaked, he said. What caused the collapse? The fire department has yet to say what may have caused the collapse near 88th Street and Collins Avenue. Police blocked nearby roads and dozens of fire and rescue vehicles, ambulances, and police cars converged on the area. Burkett said that the roof work had been ongoing in the building over the past month, but said he was unsure whether that was a factor. He said it was hard to imagine that could have been the impetus of a catastrophic collapse, adding that it was not an old building and rare, something he'd never seen in the area his whole life. It's less likely than a lightning strike. It just doesn't happen, he said of the building collapse. You don't see buildings falling down in America. And here we had a building literally fall down, just doesn't happen. The building was only 40 years old, built in 1981. Florida requires all buildings and properties to be inspected every 40 years to be certified, and Miami-Dade County officials were in the process of inspecting the building before it collapsed, according to the Miami Herald. The newspaper reported the inspections examine whether a structure is stable and safe, and the Buildings Association recently hired an engineer to examine electrical and structural changes. Oren Citronbaum, an attorney, owns 2 units in the building along with his family and fortunately wasn't there when it collapsed. The side of the building where his units are remained intact, but he's worried about some of his neighbors with loved ones who are still missing. There was no indication that the building was in ill repair, but was being inspected for the 40-year review. Engineers were coming through to inspect it, Citronbaum said, and there were some repairs done to the roof before the fall, but nothing else he was aware of. A Florida high-rise that collapsed Wednesday night was determined to be unstable a year ago, according to a researcher at Florida International University. The building, which was constructed in 1981 on reclaimed wetlands, has been sinking at an alarming rate since the 1990s, according to a 2020 study conducted by Sharman Wendowski, a professor in the Department of Earth and Environment at Florida International University. I looked at it. I looked at this morning and said, "Oh my God, we did detect that," he said of the Champlain Tower South. Wendowski said his research is not meant to suggest any certainty about what caused the collapse of the condominium. The building was sinking at a rate of about 2 millimeters a year in the 1990s, and the sinking could have slowed or accelerated in the time since. In his experience, Wendowski said even the level of subsidence observed in the 1990s typically results in impacts to buildings and their structures, such as cracked walls or shifting foundations. He believes that very well could have been the case for the Champlain building in the 1990s based on his findings. It was a byproduct of analyzing the data. We saw this building had some kind of unusual movement, Wendowski said. Barry Cohen, 63, and his wife were asleep in the building when he heard what he thought was a crack of lightning. The couple opened the door to the hallway. I couldn't walk out past my doorway, Cohen said, a gaping hole of rubble. He and his wife eventually made it to the basement and found rising water there. They returned upstairs, screamed for help, and were eventually brought to safety by firefighters using a cherry picker. Wendy Jean-Louis arrived on the scene wearing an orange University of Miami sweater and red scrubs. She's a caregiver for a family who lives in the building. I can see that's where the unit was. That's where their apartment was, she said, sobbing as she looked at the rubble. I spend more than 10 hours here. They are my family. Firefighters were seen using ladder trucks to rescue people from the high rise. The area has a large Jewish population, and a rescue team of Orthodox Jews, Kal Hazala, were on the scene to help with body recovery. Building area have Argentinian connection. The city of Surfside has long been an enclave of the Argentine American community after the economic collapse of the 1990s in the South American country. Sounds of the Porteño Spanish are more common than Caribbean Spanish in some places. Silvana Juarez, 49, of Argentina, lives near the Condo building and said her good friends are missing. I have 3 friends and their little girl that are missing, Juarez told USA Today. My daughter lives in the building next door, and my daughter heard a loud explosion. What are the condominiums like? A few 2-bedroom units in the development are listed for sale with asking prices of $600,000 to $700,000, an internet search shows. The building's website promotes incredible oceanfront views or spectacular views of intercoastal waterway with the city in the background. It adds with the city in the background. It adds that year-round ocean breezes help keep the temperatures moderate in the summer and winter, and that the condos are located near some of the best shopping Miami has to offer, as well as the famous Miami nightlife. That is the set information from USA Today. Thank you all for joining me. God bless all of you. I'm going to bring you a little more information. I know it's a bit winded, but I'm trying to make sure I get everything repeated to you. That was USA Today that I just brought you. The next source will be CNN News. I'm going to try to just skim over what they have. This is updated at 4:25 a.m. It's 4:51 a.m. here in East Tennessee. As I stated from the USA Today article, at least 99 people are unaccounted for after a building partially collapsed in Surfside, Florida. This is near Miami, Florida. 1 person killed, at least 11 were injured. 102 people have been accounted for as rescue efforts continue. Emergency officials are asking people to call 305-614-1819 if they have relatives who are unaccounted for. More people from Latin American countries reported missing following the building collapse. Authorities from several countries in Latin America have confirmed that nationals from their respective countries resided or were in the building in Surfside, Florida that collapsed early Thursday. Here is the breakdown of the people missing. And know that this can change at any time. So I will bring you the updates as I get them. Paraguay, 6 nationals missing, including Paraguayan First Lady Silvana Lopez Marrera's sister, brother-in-law, and 3 children. So from Paraguay, we have a sister of the First Lady, the brother-in-law, and their 3 children. So that's 5. Colombia, 6 nationals resided in the building. Venezuela, 6 nationals are missing. Argentina, 9 nationals are missing. Uruguay, 3 citizens are missing. So that's 12 to 21, 24 that I just spoke of. So know that they are still continuing the search through this rubble. The collapse killed at least 1 person, officials said. 37 people were pulled out of the rubble following the building collapse. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Assistant Fire Chief Ray Jadala said 11 people with injuries have been treated and 4 of those were transported, the assistant chief said. CNN reported earlier there is at least 1 person dead from the collapse. The mayor of Miami-Dade County, Daniela Levine Cava, said the building is 12 stories and had more than 130 units. Search and rescue operations will continue throughout the night as the collapsed Champlain Towers condo building, Cava said. As I state, 102 persons have been accounted for. There are also 4 nationals living and visiting and have not been located. Now, 102 people accounted for. They say they want to give you a top number, very encouraging. That's double what we're able to report from the last time, Cava said at a news conference. 102 are from the towers. Their locations are known and they are safe. The mayor said there are still at least 99 people who are unaccounted for. So at least 99 people are still missing from the building. No cause determined. There's still no official cause of the building collapse. Structural engineers will be involved in the investigation, as well as the city of Surfside and the fire department. According to the Miami-Dade County Police Department, they will investigate the incident after search and rescue operations are completed. And Natural Laboratory information from USA Today pertaining to a Shimon Wendowski, a professor with the Florida International University's Institute of Environment. He told CNN he determined in the study last year that the Champlain Tower South condo showed signs of sinking in the 1990s. The condo had a subsidence rate of about 2 millimeters a year from 1993 to 1999, according to his study. While Wendowski said that this sinking alone would likely not cause the condo's collapse, he said it could be a contributing factor. If one part of the building moves with respect to the other, that could cause some tension and cracks, he explained. The building, which was built in the 1980s, was undergoing roof work, Surfside Mayor Charles Burkett said, but he added that it's unknown whether this was a factor in the collapse. And it just goes on to repeat basically what I just brought you from USA Today. If you need verification for the information, please log on to USA Today. And this article is CNN, which was just uploaded less than 30 minutes ago. Thank you all for joining me. I'm not going to hold you much longer because I have more information I want to bring today coming out of East Tennessee. But both sources, USA Today and CNN News, 102 people have been accounted for in a building that housed over 130 units. The building collapsed. If you go to my community post, you will see a post of the video from YouTube. It will show you the said information pertaining to this building. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's an issue of the roof. The building's been sinking. We do know that Florida has sinkholes. A few years ago, an entire house fell into the earth and the person died. I don't even remember if the person was ever recovered. So know that if you ever go to Florida, it is a sinking state, such as Tennessee. Many people do not know that. This is also sinkhole heaven as well. We have been stunned by homes sinking, the earth falling in. So you see, you do not know what you are living upon until tragedy happens. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to play you audio, and then I'm going to check out of here. 1 second. Thank you all for joining me.
Savannah is off this morning. We're following breaking news this morning out of South Florida. Search and rescue operation is underway after a 12-story apartment building partially collapsed in Surfside, Florida. We know one person is dead, according to the town's mayor. No word yet on other casualties or injuries, but firefighters were seen pulling a boy from the rubble. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock is on the scene for us this morning. Sam, just start off by telling us what is the very latest on the ground there.
It's a little calmer right now, Joe, than it was when we first got on scene early this morning, 3:30, 4 o'clock. We were watching as fire ladders were carrying responders from balcony to balcony. I could hear the sound of sawing going on as they were looking for people. That is no longer taking place from what I can see right here. I'm going to point you over my shoulder. That's the condominium building. From this side, it looks fine. It is the northeast quadrant that, in the words of both the mayor and the residents who live there, pancaked, literally just collapsed and fell down. We just heard from Surfside's mayor, Charles Burkett, who said that there is no precedent for this kind of thing around here. He is not aware of any buildings in Miami Beach collapsing like this. He said it feels and looks like a bomb went off, but we know it did not. We have to get to the bottom of this. He also expressed his concern for the firefighters who were responding. The fact that there is still a threat right now that that building could completely collapse. So they've evacuated at least 50 rooms at a nearby hotel. He also confirmed for us that police said there's been at least one fatality. So that is now officially confirmed through the mayor of Surfside. Right now, search and rescue effort, Joe, continues. It's hard to see from right here what's going on, but we do know, as you alluded to a second ago, in the overnight hours, there was a rescue, 2 people taken out there, one of whom was a teenage boy carried on a firefighter's shoulder. At least that's what we're hearing from that video and from reports here. I spoke with some neighbors. One woman who lives on the 9th floor, she said, it is my full expectation that I lost friends. She said she's on the 9th floor. She was removed from the part of the building that actually collapsed, but that she is almost positive that there will be fatalities here beyond just the one that I told you about. And the mayor also mentioned the fact that people were able to get out because of the fact that a portion of the building was still standing, so they could move to that area of the building and get out. But it's just hard to imagine, Joe, given the amount of residences here. There's 130 plus, according to the website of the group that manages the Champlain Tower South, which is what this is. And, you know, you're figuring about a third of it collapsed based on the number of lines, vertical units that fell down. That's 40 or 50 units. And lastly, Joe, I would just add that the mayor said they were largely full. This, you know, it's Florida. Obviously, people come down here for vacations. But they are under the impression there were a lot of people in that building when it partially collapsed. We're waiting for more updates this morning, Joe. Now, listen, let me send it back to you.
All right, Sam Brock. Sam, thank you so much. We actually did hear from the mayor of Surfside just a little bit ago, speaking with the Today Show. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Nobody builds 5G like Verizon builds 5G.
Sorry about that. That's a commercial. But anyway, as I state, this is breaking news. If there's more information to bring, I will bring it to you. I just brought what was the latest that came up at the time of going live. So
just unfathomable, these images that we're seeing in your community. Can you give us any latest information on the number of injuries, any fatalities that may have been happened here this morning?
Yes, my police chief has told me that we transported 2 people to the hospital this morning at least, and 1 has died. We treated 10 people on the site, and we have 15 family units up at our community center, which we're going to be relocating into hotels shortly.
And what's the status of the rescue operation? We saw a massive response by the fire department there, looking for people, looking for survivors. Is that ongoing?
It is. It was ongoing in the middle of the night. We were here. I think it was a little after 2 o'clock, and the dogs came in. And the dogs have been going over the debris, and just tragically there haven't been any hits for the dogs, and that's a great disappointment. Apparently when the building came down, it pancaked, so there's just not a lot of voids that they're finding or seeing from the outside, which again that's a tragedy. It was a little bit concerning for us to go inside the building in the middle of the night, but the Miami-Dade Fire Department's been awesome. They've gotten in there, and they're in there at risking their lives. I mean, we don't know if the rest of that building's going to come down, but it's just like the Trade Center thing. They ran right into it, and they've been looking for people. I think they did find a gentleman up in there, and they brought him out, which was amazing. So right now, we're just kind of waiting for the sun to come up so we can start doing whatever we can do to see if there's anybody else we can save.
Yeah, Mayor, you brought up something really important there where, you're wondering how sound the rest of the building is, and we saw people being plucked from their balconies. And I guess my question is, was the building at full capacity? Were all of the 130 plus units occupied?
The building manager, we've spoken to the building manager, and the building was not, it was not lowly occupied. I think there were quite a few people in there.
Yeah.
So that's another terrible thing. But, again, I think apparently the destruction that happened at the back of the building didn't sort of flow into the front of the building, and it allowed people to wake up and make their way down the stairs and out of the building. We're thankful for that.
And Mr. Mayor, we're looking at the images, and they really are devastating. But what happened? I mean, I know the building was built 40 years ago, but do you have any idea what may have caused this? Have residents given you any indication?
Listen, there was roof work that was going on, so we know that that was happening, but you would never expect that to be the issue. I think that this is a catastrophic failure of that building, and we need to try to understand what happened. And we just, it's very early right now, so it's very difficult for us to imagine what could have happened. But obviously, the foundation somehow was undermined, and the whole thing came down. I mean, it looks like a bomb went off, but we're pretty sure a bomb didn't go off, so it's something else.
Wow. All right. Well, we wish you guys the best of luck. We know it's going to be a long, long day. The Mayor of Surfside, Charles Burkett, thank you so much.
All right. So.
Okay. If you need verification for this video, this is NBC News. The top headlines, June 24th, Morning News Now. I posted it to my community board. If you need verification, and you're welcome to comment on that video. As I state, the numbers of people alive, found, injured will change because things change. So this is an evolving story as I speak, but 102 people last count before I went live were accounted for. The sources are USA Today and CNN News. And yes, as has been mentioned in the chat, Washington, D.C. had a walk bridge that collapsed. I have not gone back in to verify any more information pertaining to that story, but I will be bringing you updates during my live in a few hours. I'm going to go live about a breaking story here out of Tennessee that's very crazy, but I'll get to that later. But as I state, in Surfside, Florida, near Miami, Florida, a condo building, 40 years old, partially collapsed, as it says. I do not know if it's all the way collapsed. I'll bring you more information pertaining to all of that information once I get it. But it is very sad. And there is video of them bringing out a young male, a teenager. I don't know where his parents are, if they're even alive or been accounted for. We'll bring you that said information pertaining to that young male. But as I also stated in this article, both articles from USA Today and CNN News, there were foreign nationals staying in the building and visiting the building. Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, several foreign South American countries. So if you know of anyone that could possibly been staying in the in that said building, please try to notify someone, because I know a lot of people do have family and friends in Florida. So let's pray for Surfside, Florida. Let's pray for the people in the building that survived. Let's pray for those who did not survive. This is going to be a very daunting and depressing weekend. And let's pray for our firefighters who are on the job, risking their lives to go in the rubble to find the decedents, because that has to be a very daunting job to go through iron and concrete looking for survivors and also the deceased. And the sad part of the story is when I brought you the information that they believe that all have been accounted for that are living. So that means the worst, that the rest have perished. Because if the building pancaked, as they have stated, you know the rate of survival is limited because you have to be able to have air to breathe. If you want to donate to the channel, Everyday Shenanigans, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. Thank you all so much. All super chats are welcome. Thank you for my mod on deck, Miss Night Owl. Thank you all for joining me. Let me say this before I check out of here. I want to thank Seven of Life and Tina. They noticed that someone had used my picture in a chat on Molly Golightly's channel day before yesterday. And know that I don't use any alternate pictures or profiles on YT or any social media platform. If I comment on YouTube, it is the picture that I've always used. I did change my photo yesterday once I got information of that. So I do have a new photo in the chat that is a picture that I had uploaded to my community board. But as you see, there will be no other photos used, since you all have nothing better to do with your time than steal the Queen's photos to put on a fake account to comment in someone's chat. So I'm going to say this to you directly. I do not have any alternate accounts on YT. If I comment, it will be under Everyday Shenanigans and my actual photo. So whoever the scum that stole my picture, you need to get a life. Paprika Dean, whatever mess you're trying to stir up, I don't care. I'm not interested. I have a life. And my life does not revolve around YouTube. Sadly, some of you all lives do. Mine does not. So I do not have an alternate account, and I would never use my damn photo with the name Paprika Dean. Now, if you want the Queen to go there about Paprika Dean, oh, I can take you there. I don't have a problem. I definitely don't have a problem. I haven't even been discussing that individual. So there's no need for anyone to have taken my photo and put it with Paprika Dean's name. Now, I don't know if this is the actual Ryan Dean, the bio mother of the Cal City Boys, that did this, or it's just some sicko who doesn't have anything better to do than to troll the chat and disrupt a person's life, so they think. But you're not disrupting anything with the Queen, because once again, I'm highly favored. And there's nothing you can do to the Queen that I don't allow you to do. You're not going to stop anything. You're not going to stop the flow of Everyday Shenanigans. You're not going to stop the flow of the Queen living. And that's just a sad word. And I thank you all for following the content. Thank you for donating to the channel. I will be bringing you a live video where I will hope to get responses from the video of an East Tennessee nurse who is no longer currently working for the said hospital. She has been accused of sending vile products, let's just say, in the U.S. mail to the ex-wife, I'm assuming, of a guy she's dating or married to. I'm kind of befuddled about that. And I'm trying to get more information about who she is. But this is an ongoing story that just came up out of the news here in Tennessee this week. This lady, God, like, it's sick and vile. That's all I can say. There are no words for this. So I will be going live in a few hours pertaining to the East Tennessee nurse that sent blood and fecal matter to an ex-wife of a guy she's dating, married to, whatever the situation is. She is facing federal charge. She's jacked herself up pertaining to this story, because once you put anything in the U.S. mail, it's a wrap. And I also am going to bring you with that story of a young African, I don't know if she's foreign, African national, but out of Canada, a baby girl, I call them baby girls as long as they're under 18. She and another friend went to a birthday party and somebody poisoned the cereal. I don't know what the hell's going on with people, but we've got this dizzy broad here in Tennessee sending stuff in the mail back in April to this woman she's angry with. And then we've got somebody poisoning kids in Canada in cereal. And the fact that you would give a child poison, there are no words. There are no words to poison a child at a sleepover. These stories are ridiculous and they're redundant. I'm just sick of it. The nonsense of these people out here. They're just wicked. But I will be bringing you updates pertaining to all of those stories. The young girl out of Canada, the nurse here in East Tennessee who's been brought up on federal charges, and I'm also going to bring you a mild update pertaining to Fort Hood. I just came into information before going live that they have barred the soldiers from going to certain establishments in the Texas area of Fort Hood because of recent violent acts. So I don't know if that's going to be a good idea or not. We will see how that goes. I'll weigh that once I read the article in its full entirety to bring a commentary pertaining to that. I have covered many Fort Hood deaths in the past year. If you want to go back in my older videos, I have many videos pertaining to soldiers who have died suspiciously while being a member of the military of Fort Hood. So now the military has decided to ban where they can go. So let's see how that works out, because that could be an issue of, you can't tell me where I can go. I'm an adult. I can patronize Billy Bob's dive, Pookie Ray Ray's dive. Well, the military says, no, you can't. You ain't going nowhere. So you're under the thumb of Uncle Sam and Big Brother. He runs it all while you are under his thumb. So that should be a very interesting commentary. I will bring you a source pertaining to that as well. Any other updates that I can find. But this is the said information coming out of Surfside, Florida, near Miami. A condo building has collapsed. I am curious to why the building collapsed. I'm curious to this professor's findings a year ago that the building collapsed. I think it's very interesting that the building only gets a check of every 40 years of an inspection in Florida, because don't you find it interesting? Just when it's time for this building to be inspected, it collapses. What are the odds? Very interesting. I really think every 40 years is probably too long. Most of us aren't going to live that long. Most people don't even live to be 40, depending on their demographic and the way they live. So every 40 years, that's a long time. So the building was built 40 years ago. 81. It's now 2021. So right when it's time for this building to be inspected, ding, 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 it falls down, literally. And as most of you know, California, Florida is a sinking state. It is a state that has sinkholes. So perhaps, as they stated, this professor, they built this condo on wetlands. And you know you cannot build on moist ground. That's why people have problems with mold in their apartments. You can't build in a swamp. You can't build on top of a swamp land. You can't build on land that's grazed by cows. It's all the same. Well, Dolph, in the end, people don't think about those things when they move in a building. People only notice things when they're there. And even when you see things that ain't right, such as the building shifting, cracks in the building, mold buildup, people stay anyway. And I blame the people who build the buildings, because you're supposed to know the foundation in which you are building a structure. And everybody knows you do not build a building, house, shack on top of a wet ground, wet land. Anything that's of the swamp, pastures, you don't build a building. Yes. Well, guess what? About the money, it's over with now, because now we're talking about a lot of dead people who we now got to wait to see who's going to, these firefighters go through the rubble and get these people out of here, out of the rubble. And this is a very sad situation for our firefighters and personnel who are going to have to go in and retrieve these bodies. And that's a terrible thing. I don't care if you're a firefighter, a detective, police officer, military, there's still no comparison to finding dead people. I don't care if it's digging them out, going to war, it's all the same. Dead is dead. And I can't imagine pulling up concrete, steel, worrying about cutting my finger, hand off, trying to find somebody. And then I'm looking at a leg, an arm, and now it's a whole body, God forbid, severed, and they're gone. That's terrible. So prayers to the lady whose leg has been amputated, that they had to pull out of the rubble. Prayers for the teenager who was pulled out alive. God is good. Praying that his family is alive. Praying for the foreigners who were visiting and living in the building. Praying for Surfside, Florida. Praying for those who survived. Now they have to start over. And then let's pray for those who live in any type of structure, high-rise in Florida, because there are many high-rise buildings in Miami. For those of you who are not familiar, that is the going thing, to have a view of the water. And we're talking about in the major millions. I'm not even talking about 1 million. I'm not even talking about 10 million. I'm talking about $30 million for a view of the ocean. I watch a lot of HGTV, a lot of commentary pertaining to home decor, and there are buildings down there in Miami that are at the 30 million mark. And to think of a building falling, and you've paid 30 million to look out at the ocean, is sickening. Very sickening. Well, yes, I pray that the inspections will go earlier than 40 years. I think any structure built in a land that's built near water, sand, swamp, they need to have a criteria where the buildings are inspected probably every few years. Because this professor obviously knows his job. He just called it out a year ago about this South Tower. And I find it very interesting that this man has done research on this tower a year ago, and now the damn building has collapsed. So the man knows something about his craft. So kudos to him. But the sad part is there's some dead people. There's some dead people. Sad to say. And I think that when he released his information to the public, because I'm sure it was public information, somebody should have said, well, let's check out this information from this professor and check this building out. The owner should have said, let me do my homework, because this guy specializes in this field. Let me go see what he's talking about. So that bothers me, that the owner didn't go look and verify that this place had issues. That a professor from a university saw that this place has been sinking for 30 years, and you as an owner wouldn't think to say, Let me go find out since I'm the owner. Only why not? See, that's the thing people don't understand. There's people who study everything that's known to man. There are people who study bugs. There's people that study the atmosphere, the weather, buildings, structures, highways. That's their job. So if you don't want to adhere and at least acknowledge what they've seen or studied, that's on you. But then when something catastrophic happens, you can't say that, oh, somebody didn't notice it. Somebody didn't call it. That guy called it a year ago because that's his profession. So I find it interesting. An outsider is studying a random building that is now collapsed. I mean, there's no other way to look at that. And it's tragic. So as I state, prayers for Surfside, Florida, prayers for the people who have perished in the building, because we already know in the worst case scenario, there are going to be more people deceased. Prayers for those families, prayers for the young boy that was brought out of the rubble, prayers for the lady whose leg was amputated, prayers for the people who are living, because they're going to need a lot of counseling and aid to get on their way. Also prayers for the walk bridge that fell in Washington, D.C. earlier in the week. And I will bring you information pertaining to Fort Hood, the nurse in Tennessee who's been accused of stalking and harassing a woman. Very vile information coming out of East Tennessee. It's very, very, very vile. And as I stated, thank you all for following the content. Donate to the channel by Cash App, $DeGanji129. I also protect to welcome during the live. I won't be going live as much for various reasons. And as I state, I do not have an alternate account on YT. This is the only account I have. So if you see my picture floating around on any foreign name, made up name, please report it to YouTube. It is not me. That's all the information that I have so far this morning. I want to thank you all for joining me. I will be back on live in a few hours or into the morning, early afternoon to bring you this information about the nurse. This is going to be a very wicked story, and hopefully some of you will comment. If not, it's okay with me. I'll bring you the commentary, and then I will check out. But this is a very wicked story out of East Tennessee pertaining to a Caucasian woman who obviously had a lot of ill will toward another woman. And she's now out on bond. I don't even have any words for this lady because I'm just trying to understand, how does it get this bad? You have to go out here and send people vile blood and fecal matter in the mail to a woman and use your job's logo on the envelope. It's where she messed up. It's where she messed up. Thank you all for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. You all have a wonderful morning. Happy weekend to all of you. Please be safe. Prayers for Florida. Oh, mercy. Let's pray for Florida. Thank you all so much. Good morning.